Hey guys, this is a video titled, as you already know, Anatomy of a Stroke. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you two different strokes, one that I consider decent and the other one that I consider that can be a lot better and that presents some of the most common flaws of when I see when people is rowing. Keep in mind that even though I'm a decent rower, my good stroke can be still a lot better, and I will be pointing at those things that can be better because I think that actually will be very informative. My objective is that after watching this video you have a better understanding of what a good stroke is, why, and like possibly ways to improve your own stroke. So let's go ahead and start. So I'm gonna start here with the good stroke, and let's first start with the catch position. This is a decent catch position. I have semi-vertical shins. I'm using this door frame as my reference. I'm keeping the heels down. This is not a must, but for me as a rower is important because it will allow me to transfer a lot of power from the machine using my legs, and so it's a good reminder. However, it means that my knees don't travel as much forward just because my ankle flexibility is not great. It's not bad, it's pretty good, but it can be definitely better. And so if I work on my flexibility a little bit, I'll be able to have my shins a little bit more at this angle, just a tiny bit more vertical, and that will, as you see there, is gonna give me a few inches more of on the stroke from leg power, which will be awesome. Okay, that's the first thing. Now let's look at the stroke itself. So the catch position is good. Butt is behind the elbows, arms are engaged, lats are engaged. Let's look at how I do. So the movement, as you saw there, is starting with the legs, right? Legs, 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 legs. And it's really here that the back starts to go. Good. And then finish with the arms, right? So the order for operation, there's always an overlapping, right? Like it's not always a 1, 2, 3, but the order of operation is pretty much there. That's why this is in general, good stroke. So let me show you some of the things that I'm seeing. You see that little bend in the arms? That is not terribly bad. It's not very pronounced. It's something just to pay attention. What I'm doing there is I'm trying to create tension from the biceps, so that like this final leg drive and the back drive is more powerful. I just want to feel more tension. It's not conscious, just something that my body is doing. And how I would, if I were coaching this athlete, if I coaching myself, I would be like, okay, Juan, we're gonna focus on having a little bit more of lat engagement, more back engagement in the first part of your stroke, right? That will be the thing. And the second thing that I want you to notice is that this is actually all good. This is all good, until I decide to bring that handle too high. I should end with the handle a little bit lower. If you think about it, sorry about that. If you think about it, I want that chain to be as horizontal as possible, meaning that like all my force is being transferred horizontally instead of vertically. And so that extra thing there is not actually giving me anything. You see the stroke is not really any longer, just like half an inch, but it's going up instead of back, and so it's not adding anything. It just feels good, right? And so that's another thing that I will correct. But if you look at the stroke, the recovery is pretty good in the sense that the recovery starts with the arms, follows with the back, and then the legs. Again, it overlaps a little bit, but that's fine. And then I know it's good because I also land in a good catch position. So lots of things to help do to improve there, right? Like mobility of the ankles, flexibility of the ankles, sorry, lat engagement, handle placement. But overall, the main things of a good stroke are there. Now let's look at a bad stroke, right? And so these are all decent strokes, and let me show you what a bad stroke looks like. So I'm gonna start here. There you go. And I'm gonna start with um, with a slow motion. So the first thing that I want you to do is that, as you see here, this is where the stroke really starts here, right? Like all this is like kind of lost. This is where the stroke really starts, and what you're seeing here is uh, that the catch position is pretty poor, and let's see how it goes, the order of operations, and that will explain you why this position is, why we say this position is poor. Like, so check this out. If we go slow, if you look at what's happening there, is the back moves from this position, right there, and is the first mover, right? You saw it. So it goes from here to here. It opens. So yeah, it opened this angle, but the chain didn't move that much. It just moved a little bit with not a lot of power, right? Like, because all I was doing was, like, if you track my butt, you see what happens there. I'm bringing my butt in, sending my shoulder back. So I'm really not. I'm changing the angle. I'm not gaining anything, and I'm not putting power on that chain, right? Like, it's just an adjustment, basically. Then the stroke, the power of the stroke really starts here. The back is shut. As you see, the angle hasn't really changed anymore, so the back is giving nothing, and it's just, you see, the back only opened that, and it's just the legs uh, and some arms, right? And so I basically, what I do by doing this is I'm starting my stroke really here. I'm cutting that stroke short. I'm shorting off my hips, right? Like, my back is doing nothing, and I finish there. So uh, that's why we say, like, this is not a good stroke. Those are the reasons there, because there's a lot of wasted things. Why do we do this naturally? Because we don't do this because we're idiots, right? Like, I mean, we're idiots, but that's not the reason why we do this. And I'll show you why. So when you do this first motion in which butt goes in, back goes back, what you just have done is you have creating a lot of tension here in the system. Uh, and when you perform this kind of movement, you'll feel that the initial part of the stroke is not very powerful because the chain is moving slowly. But as soon as you start pushing with the legs, it's going to feel very powerful. Why? Because you have created a lot of tension. And so that's why it feels good, and that's what you're doing it. It's a smart thing. You want to create tension so that there's transfer from the legs to the chain. It makes total sense. And it's what my biceps were trying to do on the other part, right? However, it is just a compensation in the sense that, like, I'm losing opportunity, right? Like, what opportunity I'm losing? All the things that I show you, depth, like strength of the stroke, and the use of the hips, right? And so when we go back to, and I just want you to notice this really fast. This is a little bit of a parenthesis here. I'm rewinding the video. This is the strokes with bad form. So you see how that looked. So, and now let's go backwards. Sorry, let me do it once again. And you see how that looks. Good movement looks good. Good movement. If you look at the good strokes, you'll see that going back or going forward is the same. Right now I'm going back, right? And going forward, it looks exactly the same. You cannot tell. And I'm not playing games here. Where the other one, you saw what was happening. And so, like, if you have an aesthetic sensibility, fortunately, good aesthetics and good form coincides for reasons. Like, we don't think that shit is beautiful because shit is beautiful. We think shit is beautiful because that's how our bodies move better. Anyhow, that's a little parenthesis. Let's cut it out and let's go back to the good stroke. So what happens here? Like, if you look at this first part is all legs, and if you track the angle of the back and you track when the stroke is really starting, the stroke really starts here. You'll see that there's already tension there. The angle of the back has not changed much or nothing. Wow, that was a good stroke. And then when I finish, look at all that the angle all that the back has provided. It's a lot more, right? The legs have provided pretty much the same, right? And the back has provided all that. So I just added a lot of force from another very strong mover that is the back. And I have added a lot of depth because my stroke is really starting here, right? So that's why this is a good stroke. That's why this technique is better. That's why we like it. Now, what does that mean? Why is this harder, and what do I have to do to make this work? In order for this to start feeling better, and to like for you to feel feel powerful when rowing, it means that in order for like this first part of the rowing stroke to be working, this area here, all this, the torso and the arms that are connected to the machine, have to be very solid, have to create a lot of tension, and have to be very engaged, so that when the legs move, there's no fluff in the system, there's no weighted force, right? What you're seeing is, in my case here, is that I'm not very good at that. And so you see the tension that I am trying to create with the biceps by bending the arms early is really a sign that I'm like have to work a little bit harder on that, right? So it means that I have to engage my back more, so that the arms don't have to compensate for that, right? And if I do that, my initial part is going to be more powerful. Good. And then, like correct that. But anyhow, so that's the difference between a good stroke. And what you have to do then, as I was saying there, is really focus on create tension on the torso by engaging your back, keeping the arms and engaging their lats, and keeping the arms straight and relaxed but tense at the same time. So it's a relaxed tension thing, right? And that will transfer the most power from the legs to the rotor here, right? And so that's it. That's anatomy of a stroke. Keep one thing in mind. Most people will go here. Most people will start with this kind of stroke, right? You come here, send the boat in, start with your back by pulling back. And that happens for many reasons. As I said, it feels better, right? Because you have created that tension. But also it's because your brain is thinking, let's pull back, right? Like if you're just thinking that, if you're thinking about like pulling that shit back, that's what you're going to do, right? Like that's the normal reaction, right? And so it's a very natural way of movement. Might not be the most efficient one, but it's definitely very natural, right? And so keep in mind that if you are trying to change your rowing stroke or working on your technique, this kind of stroke in here, this kind of movement here is gonna feel a lot more powerful right away, right? Like if you are like gonna row for 40 seconds, this is actually a way to do it, because you're gonna generate more power on the short term. Your strokes are shorter, but you're generating more instant power just for a second. But your prime movers are gonna be just the legs and the arms, and mostly the arms. And so you're gonna get tired really fast, and you're gonna have to increase the stroke per minute just because your stroke length is shorter. So on the very long term, this is better. Whenever you're talking about like you're performing more than 100 strokes, which is anything longer than 4 minutes, anything or anything longer than anything longer than 4 minutes is gonna bite you really hard. And actually, like that short stroke is not going to be very conducive to like rowing capacity in general, right? Like, because it's good short term, but on the long term, and rowing is an endurance thing, right? Like even when you're like thinking about like like a 4-minute workout, if you manage to make every stroke more powerful and longer, you're still gonna win, right? It's just really in the very, very sprint short terms that this kind of stroking is actually gonna be better, and that's still questionable. Okay, that is it. Anatomy of a stroke. I hope you like this video, and if you do, please give me a like below, and let me know if you find other things that I should be fixing apart from rowing without shoes. that's it. Have fun.